Where's the witness?
Mr. Twala.
As the court pleases, my lord. Now, Mr. Twala, I want to move on to a different aspect of your testimony, which is the description of the two suspects that entered the house on the 26th of October 2014.
Ngifuna ke manje ungidaba ke lobufakazi bakho ukuchaza kwakho ke uchaza labo abangena ke endini ngalelo langa la nge-26 zika October 2014.
Yebo?
Yes.
Now, the first suspect that entered the house, what was his height?
Owokuqala ke owangena endlini ke i-height yakhe yayithini?
Noma ngeke ngize ngikwazi ukuchaza specific ukuthi height yayithini kodwa wayengekho mude nje. Wayethanda umfishanyana.
Although I won't be able to give his height exactly or precisely, but he wasn't tall, he was a bit shorter.
What about his complexion?
Ibala lakhe?
Not dark, not light, in between.
Wayengekho dark, engekho mpofu ephakathi nje maphakathi nje nendawo.
If you say in the middle, will he be what we colloquially say somebody is coffee color? Is that what you meant to say, that he's in between?
Uma uthi ke in between iloko achaza ngokuthi ke coffee color.
Coffee
Coffee is a bit darkish, maybe cappuccino, I don't know. Coffee is a bit too dark.
Yeah, I mean coffee with milk.
And the witness is right.
Yes, it is, my lord. It is. But you know, my lord, in the country they say coffee color, and we know what this
drinks cappuccino.
But it's right, cappuccino, yes. So that one, yes. With
TikTok, yes.
Now I'm gonna be on TikTok now because of you.
And then what about his facial features?
My facial features one.
He had high cheeks, the chin,
and just the chin.
Not too big, not too small, just average eyes.
The eyes just
average eyes.
Okay, amehlo nje aphakathi nendawo.
And then you mentioned something about the chin. I didn't get that.
Chin, bo ngazi ukuchazela kanjani kodwa ukuthi ama-chins ahlukana khona baphakathi yena yakhe nje yayi kanje longish.
It was just longish because chins differ.
And are those the only descriptors that you can give of this first suspect?
Ungamchaza nje kuphelele nje indlela ungamchaza ngayo lo wokuqala.
When it comes to a face, ngisho lokho. When
it comes to the face, yes, I would say that.
What about the clothing that he was wearing on the night in question?
Wayegqokeni ngalelo langa?
If ngikhumbula kahle ngathi kakuyi jacket, jersey, yeah.
If I remember well, the jacket, jersey, yes.
Now, you and I are at idem that you cannot describe the second suspect. The only thing that you identified was the hoodie that he was wearing, correct?
Mina nawe ke siyavumelana ke ukuthi lo wesibili ke awukho kusimo sokuthi ungamchaza ke ukuphela nje kwento echazayo noma eshoyo ngayo ukuthi wayifake ihoodie.
Yebo.
Also describe the height.
Yes. He also described, sorry, Mr. Balwe.
The height, my lord.
Okay, let's go to the height. What was his height? The second one, my good sir.
He was tall.
And then the color of the hoodie that he was wearing, what was it?
Umbala we hoodie awayifakile.
Noma ngasakhumbula kahle but it was a dark color.
Although I can't remember properly, but it was a dark color kwakuumbala ke omnyama or dark.
And how was he wearing that hoodie? Was he wearing it with the hooded part covering his head and part of his face, or with the hood down?
Ihudi lena ke uyayimboze ikhanda leli kanye nobuso noma ihudi wayengayifakile ekhanda.
Hayi wayifakile ekhanda uma ngabona kanjalo ukuthi ihudi.
It was covering his head. That's how I could see that it was a hoodie.
And just so that we don't understand each other, and Mr. Baloyi stands up now and then, would it be fair to say that you cannot identify the second suspect?
Ngabe ke ngisho kona ke uma ngithi ke lo wesibili ke yena ke awukwazi nje ukuthi ungamchaza.
Yebo ngicabanga ukuthi bengiye ngakusho nami lokho ukuthi ngabanzima ukuthi ngimchaze.
Yes, I think I said
indlela engimchaza ngayo manje.
Okay, I said it that I think I said it that I won't be able to describe him. I'm just describing him in the manner which I just did now.
Now, your version is that Longwethala stands up, approaches the first suspect, pushes him away or off, then he runs out of the kitchen door. Correct?
Uthi ke kubufakazi bakho wasesukuma uLongwe wayanqoke kulona ke owoqala ususpect wamphushela eceleni wabulongwe segijima ke phuma ngomnyango wase kitchen.
Yebo kunjalo.
Yes, that's correct.
Can you please, if you can, demonstrate that pushing action exactly on the body where Longwe pushed the first suspect?
Uma ungachaza noma utshengiseke le ndlela ke uLongwe awamphusha ngayo usebenzisa ke umzimba kodwa emzimbeni amphusha kanjani ke uLongwe ephusha lo woqala.
Angeke ngize ngikwazi ukuchaza lokho ukuthi wamphusha kanjani kodwa njengoba ngisho ukuthi wamphusha kuphi ke kuzoba difficult ukuthi ngichaze manje after 9 years lokho. Ukumphusha bamphusha wasiwadlula.
I won't be able to describe that to do that after 9 years. It will be difficult. He pushed him and he went past him.
Just so that we don't labor the point, did he push him on the torso or on the lower body?
Wasebenzisa la ngaphezulu emzimba noma upper body lena noma la ngenzansi emzimbeni.
Upper body.
Upper body. Mphusha la ngaphezulu emzimbeni.
And as Longwe stands up and approaches the first suspect to push him, what was the position of the firearm in the first suspect's hand?
Nkathi uLongwe sukuma eya kuyena isibhamu wayesiphethe kanjani ke ngaleso sikhathi?
Nalapho futhi ngeke ngize ngisho ukuthi wayesiphethe kanjani kodwa isibhamu wayesiphethe.
Even there I won't be able to tell as to how or what the position of the firearm was, but he had the firearm.
And as he is pushed, that is the first suspect, what then happens to him? Is he pushed to the ground, against the wall, against the couches? Where was he pushed?
Umphushele edongeni, umuyisa phansi noma umphushele emakouchini?
Ngingasho ukuthi towards the wall.
I would say towards the wall noma umphushela ngasodongeni.
And then what happens to the first suspect as he's pushed towards the wall? Does he trip and fall? Does he stumble back? What was?
Kwenzekani ngaye ke uyawa ke maphushela edongeni noma kwenzekani?
Ngiyacabanga mhlawumbe umuntu mekuphusha uthi ukuluza ibalance kancane, so mhlawumbe ngingakusho lokho noma ngingeke ngize ngigxile kakhulu ngoba after eqeda kumphusha la kwasekusukuma khona wonke umuntu, so ngesikhathi kusuma wonke umuntu ngiyasitheka ke nami la ngoba usenzwe eseceleni kwami.
I think that when you get pushed you sort of lose the balance a little bit, so I think that's what happened, and when that happened, that's when everyone then stood up and then my view was obscured.
And at that stage, when the pushing happens between the first suspect and Longwethala, where was the second suspect?
Ngalesikhathi ke kwenzeka lokho phakathi kwaLongwe nalowo oqala lo wesibili kuphi nendawo?
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi wayengemuva kwakhe noma ngambona nje bengisho ukuthi mina ngambona ngesikhathi sesisukuma, so ngesikhathi emphusha ngangakamboni vele.
At the time when I think that he was behind him, because at the time when Longwe was pushing him, wasn't able to see him. I only saw him when we stood up.
Now, before Longwethala pushed the first suspect, did you hear any raking or what they call cocking of a gun?
Before. Ngaphambilini kokuthi uLongwe ke amphushe lo oqala ingaba ukuzwile yini lokho abathi ke ukukhokhwa kwesibhamu?
Cha, ngizwayo.
I didn't hear it.
Now, your version also is that when Longwetwala pushed the first suspect and he stumbled or lost the balance, then everybody got a chance that was in the house to stand up from their sitting positions, correct?
Yes.
And you say you then approached, when I say you, I mean the collective that was remaining in the house, you then approached the two suspects who initially initiates that approach of the suspects.
Naseke ninaka abasele ngithulonge manje uphumile ninaka abasele nase niyakubona ke ngiqonda kubona ke laba bawu2 ubani ke owaqala ke ngalokho ukuthi nje kube uyena ke osukumayo ayenqo kubona ke kwaqala abantu
iscaffold saqala between uSenzo naye unumber 1 ngibe ngisho ukuthi number 1 waqala naye number 2 ngabnotice late ukuthi ngathi khona number 2.
The scaffold started between Senzo and number 1. As I've already mentioned, that I only noticed later that there was number 2.
Okay. Now, when the scaffold starts between Senzo and the other people in the house, you personally, what did you do?
You know why yenza wena uma ngaba seqala lesi scaffold phakathi kuka Senzo naye ke
first suspect.
Ngasukuma ngathatha ifoni yami.
I stood up and
my phone we stand eduze ke TV.
From the stand next to the TV.
And having taken your phone from the TV stand, what did you do?
Musuyithathile phone?
Ngase ngiya towards a kitchen la ngafika ngahlangana khona no Christian. Ngoba Christian umuntu waye la.
I then went towards the kitchen where I met a Christian.
Now the scaffold starts within the sitting room. Would I be correct?
Sorry, a sitting room is scaffold lesangithi.
Yebo qinisile.
That's true, yes.
Then they scaffold. By scaffolding, perhaps if you can just describe it for us, the action that you say was a scaffold between Senzo Meyiwa and the first suspect. What do you mean by scaffold?
Yini le eyenzeka ebangela uthi uma ngabe uyibiza uthi scaffold?
I think the scaffold mangisho confrontana between uSenzo naye lo muntu loyo babushanele towards a kitchen.
I mean, what I mean by that is the confrontation between Senzo and that particular person, and then pushing each other towards the kitchen.
And is it only Senzo that's pushing the first suspect towards the kitchen, or are there other members of the people that were in the house also assisting in that respect?
Usenzo kuphela ophusha lo owoqala umhambisi umsekitchen noma babe khona abanye kulaba ewawuhlangana ihlezi nabendlini nabo abalekele uSenzo ukuphusha lo woqala.
Noma ngize ngisho ukuthi babe khona abemlekelela kodwa wonke umuntu wagcina esengena kulokho okwakwenzeka towards a kitchen ngoba nami ngesikhathi ngithatha ifoni ngibheka le ngibheke emuva ngibona ukuthi kwenzakalani emva kwami. Yebo, so nami ngithatha ifoni ngifaka ephaketheni ngeke ngize ngibone ukuthi kwenzakalani emva kwami kodwa ngikwazi ukuthi kwathi mayisukuma uSenzo noTumelo basuma nabo bonke base bajoyina kuyona lento eyenzeka.
Although I wouldn't say that there was someone specifically assisting him, but what then happened is that ended up that everyone was then got involved in that which was happening. And as I was taking my phone, I was with my back towards them, or I was not in a position to see. But as I said that when Senzo stood up, all the other people, the likes of Tumelo and the others, stood up.
And personally, did you yourself participate at any stage in that so-called scaffold?
When asikhona isikhathi la nawe owaba ingxenye yaleso scaffolding? No.
And now let's take it. It starts in the sitting room. The first suspect is huddled towards the kitchen. Where is the second suspect then rounded up as well so that he ends as part of this scaffold that ends up in the kitchen?
Kulesi scaffold lesike siphakathi kwakhe ke uSenzo nalo woqala babese nabanye besukumake manje ke lo wesibili ke uhlanganiswa kuphi ke nako konke lokhu aze ayoba ingxenye ke yabo konke lokuyana okugcina lapha ekitchen.
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi yena uhlangana phela ngoba use passage la ime khona obviously abantu mebedudulana bengase kitchen bedudulana kuwena nawe ziya nabo uzohamba nabo so ngaqathi nabo wahamba nabo ngokucabanga kwami so angazi kuba nje bengisho ukuthi kangamine ngimphushayo.
I think because he was in the hallway, that's why then he ended up being then circled in that pushing. Because when people are pushing, and you also get to be involved in all of that. But I wouldn't know because I was not the one who was pushing him.
And as this pushing and scuffling is happening towards the kitchen, the first and second suspects respectively still armed with a firearm and a knife.
Usenzeka konke lokho ke kwenzeka ekitchen ke lo woqala nowesibili ke basahlomileke omunye uphethe isibhamu omunye uphethe ummese.
Yebo.
Yes.
If I can ask for photo 15 of exhibit D be displayed, please. I'm indebted, my lord, sorry. Now, the scuffle reaches the kitchen. In relation to this photo, where is the first suspect? Where does he end up at?
Ugcina ekuphiki lo woqala uma sebenzisa lesi sithombe lesi. Fikiwe man ugcina kuphi?
Bala.
They were here, the witness pointing to the side of where the stove is, the stove and the sink.
Sorry, my question wasn't they. I'm talking about the first suspect personally. Where was he in relation to the door, the sink, the other side where there's a brownish cupboard on the side?
Uthi wena bala umeli uthi ubuza lo woqala yena wena uthi bala yena uthi ubuza ngalo woqala.
Samuel ngaka sink.
Somewhere here close to the sink.
And at that stage, he's still locked up in a scuffle with Senzo Meiwa, correct?
Usekuleso scuffle kanye no Senzo.
Yebo.
Yes.
And the second suspect?
Owesibili?
Naye futhi
Him as well. He was around here. The witness pointing in that very same vicinity.
And who is he locked up in battle or in a scuffle with the second suspect?
Yena ke ungathi lo wesibili ke ukwiscuffle kanye no
akhona uTumelo.
Tumelo was there.
Akhona uTumelo and then njengoba ngisho ukuthi uMakazandi noZandi if I'm not mistaken babe bashaya lawo bantu ngama crashes kodwa babela bonke nje labantu engibabalayo bala.
As I'm saying that Zandi and her mother were then assaulting these people with the crutches, but all the people I'm mentioning are in that vicinity where the witness just pointed out in the kitchen.
So, just to get it correct, Zandi and the mother are using Tumelo Madala's crutches and they are randomly assaulting 1 and 2 or 1 alone or 2 alone. What's happening there?
Kwenzekani ke uZandi noma wakhe ke basebenzisa amakrashi kaTumelo bayashaya nje laba babili bashaya u1 kuphela bayabahlanganisa noma bashaya u2 kuphela.
Angeke ngize ngichaze ukuthi babeshaya u1 noma babeshaya u2 kodwa ngikwazi ukuthi babeshaya bona labo bantu.
I wouldn't be able to tell whether they were assaulting 1 or 2, but what I do know is that they were assaulting those people.
Okay, let's move on. Now, you say at that stage, you hear a gunshot going off, and then what happened?
Uthi ke ngaleso sikhathi wase uzwa ke uqhuma kwesibhamu. Kwase kwenzekani?
Yebo, aqhuma isibhamu. Kwase kuba khona ukuhlukana ngoba ngesikhathi kunaleso sikafu lesasenzeka nalabo ababeshaya. Kwaba khona ukuhlukana kwakhona shuthi shithi aqathi isibhamu sabathusa njengoba nami sangithusa.
What then happened, the firearm went off or the shot went off and then there was this separation. As there was a scuffle, there was this separation because I think that the shot shocked them as it just shocked me as well.
Okay. then your version is that you then run out of the house, but as you run out, you cross paths with Senzo Meyiwa as he runs into the house, correct?
Ushiloke ukuthi wena ke wase ubaleka ke ngenhloso ukuthi uphume endlini kodwa ke waphambana nayo ke umufi yena ke egijimela ngaphakathi endlini.
Yebo.
Yes.
Now at that stage, did you know whether or not Senzo Meyiwa had been shot by that first gunshot that went off?
Ngaleso sikhathi ke niphambana ke nina nomabili ngabe ubuwazi yini ukuthi uSenzo ushayiwe iloko qhuma lokho kwesibhamu?
Cha.
No.
And your testimony is that you ran out of the house into the neighbor's yard, correct?
Wasiyongena ke kwamakhelwane.
Yebo.
Yes.
And your testimony further is that as you run into the neighbor's yard, the second suspect armed with a knife then pursues you, correct?
Nanje ngoba ungena ke noma usiyojompela khona ke kwamakhelwane lo wesibili ke ophethe ummese uyakusukela.
Yebo.
Yes.
Okay, before we even go further with that, now you say the second suspect is armed with a knife in that melee or scuffle that happens in that kitchen. Was anyone from the house stabbed with a knife or a sharp object during that scuffle in that kitchen?
Nanje ngoba ushoke ukuthi kulesa scuffle esasenzeke ekitchen lo wesibili ke wayephethe ummese ngabe ukhona yini umuntu owagwazeka kulabo ababesendlini?
Cha.
No.
Ukhumbula ukuba khona ugwazekayo.
I don't remember anyone having been stabbed.
And just that, so that we can't say it was one-dimensional, the scuffling that was happening there, because I hear you say that people in the house were assaulting the two armed suspects. Were the two armed suspects fighting back, retaliating in a way, in any manner, as the scuffle is happening in the kitchen?
Kulo scuffle uyashoke ukuthi babeshaywa labantu ababili njengoba beshaywa nje na ke bamile nje kuphela noma nabo ke bayayiphindisela ke bayalwa nabo.
Ngiyacabanga ukudabo phela babezama ngendlela babezama ngayo ukuthi bayivikele nabo.
I think they were also
baze bavele bami nje abantu bebashaya ngeinduku. Ngeke ngisho ukuthi babenzani kodwa nabo khona wakwenza nabo uzama ukuziveza ubusenzo uyambona ukuthi isigaqagaqa nganani.
I think that they were in a way trying to protect themselves. They were not just going to stand there, people assaulting them with crutches, and they couldn't. And as you could see, what kind of a tough guy Senzo was.
Now, in respect to this picture, in photo 15, you are on this side. Would I be correct?
Ningala. Ningala.
Mina.
Yes, you.
Yebo.
And your vantage point is visually this way into the kitchen. Into the kitchen, correct?
Yep. That's correct.
Now, the shot goes off. There's a, like you say, a separation that happens. You exit the house. Where's the second suspect that pursues you in relation to this picture as you leave the house?
Uyaphuma ke manje wena ke emuva kokuthi isibhamu siqhumileke lona ke okusukelayo ke lo wesibili ukuphi nendawo uma ngaba wena usuyophuma ke lapha yana esiqapheni.
Noma ngisho ngishilo ukuthi mina umuntu engambona ngiphuma kakusenzo kodwa ngesikhathi kuqhuma isibhamu number 2 lo suspect number 2 wayesase kitchen naye.
As I'm saying
that nje ngidlula kubona number 2 na number 1 no Senzo bonke nje bade bemile.
As I'm saying that the person that I saw as on my way out was Senzo, but as I went out of the door I went past them, suspect number 1 Senzo and suspect number 2, they were all there.
Now you are well aware now that the people that you jumped into their yard was Mr. Ngashe Senior, who's now departed, and the son.
Sesiyazi noma into esiyaziyo ke le ukuthi laba owajompela ke egcekeni labo noma emzini wabo ke ubaba uNqatshe indodana yakhe kodwa ke baba uNqatshe yena ke akasekho ke manje.
Sengiyazi manje bengazi.
Now I know, I didn't know.
Bengazi nokuthi washona.
I really didn't know that he had passed on.
In court this term as well. So be that as it may, Khaya Nqashe has testified before you now in this trial. And he testified as follows regarding your interaction between yourself, him and his father.
Ukhaya Nqashe ke usenikeziwe ke ngobufakazi bakhe lana ke enkantolo usho lokho kulandelayo ke mayelana nokuhlangana kwakho naye kanye nobaba wakhe,
that he, as he was working in his room, he heard a noise, commotion coming out of the Khumalo household.
Uthi ke ese busy ke sebenza ke erumini lakhe ke wezwa ke umsindo noma lokho ke abiza ke i-commotion phuma khona ke lapho kwa Khumalo.
That he then got his interest piqued by that noise, the commotion, that he went to his bedroom window to look as to what was happening in the Khumalo household.
Kwase lokho ke kumphoqa ke noma kwenza ke ukuthi ke abheke ke noma sebenzise ke ifastela le camera lakhe ukuthi abheke ukuthi kwenzekani kwa Khumalo.
That from his vantage point, from his window, through one of these two windows that you see here of the kitchen in the Khumalo household, he could see a person wearing a white t-shirt against the window that is facing inside the Khumalo household, who was inside the kitchen.
Uthi ke njengoba yena ke esekamereni lakhe ebukeke esebenzisa ifastela lakhe wakwazi ukuthi aboneke kwelinye lamafastela amabili wabonayo lapha nesithombeni. Ubona uthi elinye lawo akasho ukuthi elinye lawo ke ubona umuntu ogqoke iskipa esimhlophe uze ngathi ke uze ngomhlane wakhe ke obonde noma odongeni lolu lase kitchen.
That he and his father decided to investigate the commotion that was happening from the Khumalo household, and as they were nearing the passage, they heard in fact, let me use they. He heard a sound that seemed like a breakage of not even cutlery. What we call these terms, Mr. Mnisi? Sorry? A porcelain falling and breaking on the floor.
Uthi ke bese kulokho yena nobaba wakhe ke bezama ukuthi bayobheka ke noma batholeke ukuthi kwenzekani kwa Khumalo ila ezwa khona ke lomsindo ke porcelain leyo ke iwa phansi ke iphuka.
And at that moment when they were about to leave their door, that's when they saw you already in their yard, having just jumped in their yard.
Uthi ke uma sebezophuma ke esicabheni ke kubo ila sebebona wena ke khona ke usujombeleke so ungaphakathi ke egcekeni labo.
That he was armed with an iron bar or an iron rod ready to strike, but you told him that you are not the one, according to the interpretation that was used, I don't want to misuse that word, that you are not the one to be accused. Exactly what did you say to him so that we clear that one up?
Am I still talking to
No, I'm just asking you in relation to your interaction with Khaya. Now they find you've jumped over in their yard. I want to clarify the word that you said, don't, to that effect. I'm not saying you said exactly that, don't harm me. I'm not maybe a thug, maybe a thief, maybe something to that effect. What did you say to him?
Uthi ke esezogadla ke ngoba izilungiselela ukuthi esezogadla ke ngaleyo nsimbi ke awayeyiphethe khona ke wakusho ke wena ke angisonisela angisona isigebengu khona nje athi ke wakusho wena ke.
Okay, firstly ukhaya ngiyamthanda ukuthi afika testify la. Firstly khona kushoyo in relations to into engishilo.
Firstly I like Khaya number one that he came to testify here because he said something which I also said.
Number one. Number two, lesikhathi ngijomba wangijomba yebo uqinisile weza wasahlangana naye engangithemba ukuthi nguba.
Okay, and he's telling the truth that when I met up with him he didn't trust as to who I was.
Ngayichaza ngazisho kuyena igama nesibongo ngazisho ukuthi ngihamba noba.
Okay, I mentioned my name and my surname and with whom I came there.
And noma ngasanga ngikhumbuli in special words or in exactly what I said, but ngiyakhumbula ukuthi ngathi sibanje inkunzi or sibanje inkunzi ngasho nje kodwa ngasebenzisa igama lenkunzi.
Although I can't remember specifically on the exact words as to what I said, but I did mention that we were being robbed.
And ekushoni kwami lokho wakhombisa ukuthi uyangikholwa.
And in saying that,
azaqhubeka afune ukungishaya or lento ayifuna ukuyenza.
And in saying that, he believed me because he never proceeded or went along with the intention of him wanting to assault me.
Ngoba ngikhumbula ukuthi ngaze ngakhomba ngoba lo owayemude wayehla ngomgaqo ngamkhomba ehla ngomgaqo.
Because I remember that I even pointed because the tall one was still going down the road, so and I pointed.
Now, with respect to that aspect of what you told him, not the introduction part and all of that, but about what was happening in the Khumalo household, he says you only told him that there was a problem or a big problem in the Khumalo household, but you never expanded on that.
Yena ke umechaza ke ukhaya uthi nje kuphela kwento wayisho ke wena ukuthi unenkinga noma kunenkinga enkulu ke kwaKhumalo kodwa akazange aze achaze kabanzi ke ngalokho.
Hayi okushiwo kuyena lokho ngiyacabanga ukuthi nami uyangizwe ngikushoyo.
That's what he's saying, and I think you're also hearing what I'm saying.
And that you did not even spend a long time talking to him. The sooner you jumped in, after you explained whatever brief explanation you did, you jumped back into the Khumalo household.
Nokuthi ke futhi awuzange uchithe nesikhathi eside ke lapho kibo egcekeni kubona egcekeni uthe nje ekamuva kokuthi ke ukuchazile noma ukushilo lokushilo wase futhi ke ujompela khona kwaKhumalo.
Hayi ke angizange ngize ngijombe kwaKhumalo immediately.
No,
Khumalo ngajomba ngoba
no,
Khumalo ngajomba ngoba ngizwa ukumesesiza ukumemeza kuphuma uMakakheli.
No, I never jumped back to the Khumalos immediately. I only jumped back when I heard the screams from the screams and also Kelly's mother coming out.
That he wanted to jump with you into the yard, but he didn't because of some explanation that his father gave to him that was never set on record here.
Nokuthi ke kwakuyinhloso yakhe ke ukuthi ajombe nawe ajompele kwaKhumalo kodwa ke ngenxa yalokho awakutshelwa ubaba wakhe ke okungashiwongeke la enkantolo akakwenzanga lokho.
Kodwa ngiyamkhumbula mina ukuthi yena umuntu wayengisiza.
But I do recall that he's the person who assisted me
sesingaphakathi endlini
when we were inside the house.
Qeda ngena nami endlini.
When I just entered the house.
That is not disputed. What he says is that he did not jump with you immediately as you jump into the Khumalo household.
Akuphikiswa ke lokho akushoyo ukuthi akajompanga immediately noma ngaleso sikhathi ke uma wena usujompela ubuyela khona kwaKhumalo.
Okay, ngiyakuzwa.
Okay, I hear you.
Yes, but that he assisted you in fact, he even said that he assisted you and the others together with community members to take Senzo Meiwa from where he was lying closer to the passage towards the X6 and load him into the X64.
Uyakusho ke nake ukuthi wakusiza esiza wena nabanye ke abalapha endlini kanye nabanye ke omakhelwane nake noma abantu abahlala khona lapho ke ukuthi niqhubule yena ke uSenzo bese nimfaka kwiX6.
Yebo ngiyakuzwa.
Yes, I hear you.
Now, as you run out of the Ngashe house, as you run out of the Khumalo household, you're being chased, but what you say is the second suspect. Where was Longwe Twala's red polo motor vehicle at that time?
Na njengoba usujompela ke kwaKhumalo ubuya khona le kwaNgcatshe yayikuphi nendawo ipolo kaLongwe ngaleso sikhathi leso uma usubuyela khona kwaKhumalo?
Yayikhona engaphandle.
It was there, it was outside.
And from your testimony and Zandile Khumalo's testimonies that Longwe had already ran outside of the house, did you see him anywhere in the Khumalo household, perhaps on the street, outside? Where was Longwe Twala? Did you see him?
Ubusushilo kubufakazi bakho noZandile naye ke usho lokho kubufakazi bakhe ke ngaba wayekuphi ke uLongwe la ngaphandle ngaba wambona yini ngaphandle wambona la igcekeni kwaKhumalo?
Angimkhumbula ngimbonanga nje ngimazi ukuthi wayapi.
I don't remember him, I didn't see him, I don't know where he went to.
And as you ran outside as well, just in the vicinity outside the Khumalo household, did you see a Honda Ballad motor vehicle parked outside there?
Usuphuma ke khona lapho kwaKhumalo ingaba ikhona yini imoto eyiHonda Ballad owayibona?
I
didn't take note. I was just running because I was being chased by someone. I didn't take note.
Now, just to clarify this, with respect of the jumping back into the Khumalo household, you say you only jumped once you heard Makhumalo screaming out, correct?
Uthi waphuma ke noma wajompela ke kwaKhumalo nkathi usuzwa ke uma Khumalo ememeza.
Yebo.
Yes.
And you ask Makhumalo, where's the first suspect that was carrying the gun, and her reply is that he's gone, correct?
Wasubuza wena ke kumaKhumalo ukuthi kuphi ke lo woqala wayephethe isibhamu waphendula ke na wathi usehambile.
Yebo.
Yes.
Now, just on this aspect, just to polish it up before I move on to something else. When you jump to the Nqashes, you explain to them who you are, that there's a problem. Did you ask them to call the police, or at that stage, did you ask them to call the police?
Uma
ujompela ke shooting incident in the yard.
Uma usujompela kwaNqatshe ingaba wabacela yini ukuthi bafoneleke amaphoyisa noma iambulance?
Cha ngikhumbuli ngokusho lokho kubona. Ngoba ngithukile nami angikhumbuli nje kodwa ngikusho kubona.
No, I don't remember saying that to them. I think I was in shock, but I don't remember saying that to them.
Kwenzakalani endlini, but angikhumbuli ngithi akufonela amaphoyisa.
I just mentioned to them as to what was transpiring or happening in the house, but I don't remember asking them or telling them to call the police.
And your testimony is that the second person chasing you is running down the street, and you point them out to who exactly?
Ubani lo owakhomba kuyena ngithi uyasho ukuthi wakhomba uyakhumbula ukhomba ngoba lo wayekusukela wayegijima ngomgaqo wakhomba ubani lo owamkhombisa?
Ngangikhomba kubona laba nganginabo la egcekeni.
The people that I was with on the premises.
The Nqashes.
Yebo.
And what do they do about that information? Did they see that suspect?
Bambona lo msola lo.
I
don't know. I think maybe you could have asked him as seeing that he was here.
Now, as you are talking to them, the Nqashes, both of them, did you tell them that the first suspect is still inside the house, in the Khumalo household?
Nkathi ukhuluma nabo ke laba bakwaNqatshe ingaba washo yini ukuthi lo woqala usengaphakathi endlini kwaKhumalo?
Cha ngikhumbuli ngisho.
No, I don't remember saying.
Now, my good sir, I just want to take you now to the statements that you made to the police regarding this incident. You remember Mr. Baloyi asked you and you said you've made several statements, and according to my count, you made 4 statements regarding this incident.
Uma ngibala ke mina ke ziwu4 istatement owazenza mayelana nalesigameko.
But I'll only touch on 2. Perhaps my learned colleagues will touch on others, but for my purposes of I choose 1 and 2, I'll touch only on 2 of your statements.
Imbili kuphela ke engizokhuluma ngazo.
The first one will be A26. And perhaps if we start at the back of that document before we qualify it, we'll see that on the date stamp it says falsely arrest 2014 10/28. The time is 12:45.
Yeah, one starting a date. Yes, I see that.
Now, I want you to clarify that aspect of the date, because according to your testimony is that you made this statement the following day, correct?
Ngicela ke uchaze ke ngedate ngoba wena ke kubufakazi bakho uthe istatement ewasenza which is late 27.
Yebo.
Yes.
Angiyacabanga ukuthi kubhala iphoyisa la akubhalanga mina. Kodwa mina statement sami ngasenza ngakusasa ngiyakukhumbula lokho ngoba imini engayisa mina eFoslorus.
I think the police officer wrote here, not me. But what I do know is that I went the following day to the police station in Foslorus. I went there myself.
Okay, that will be clarified by the set officer, Mr. Steve Pakule, but I'm not going to dwell much on that one. Now, you remember on the 27th, you say after inquiring about the ID from Kelly Kumalo, you then went to Foslorus for the purposes of this document, correct?
Ushilo ngizwa ukuthi emuva kokuthi wawuye kuKelly mayelana nodaba lwe-ID wase uya khona ke la eFoslorus.
Ngangiye kaKelly, hayi kuKelly.
Yes, no,
after naKelly, so
yes.
Kuzokudida ke lapho kancane.
So sorry, clarify for me.
I went
to kaKelly qala kuyofuna uKelly ngangamthola, then proceeded eFoslorus, then went kaKelly kuyokulok endlini kaKelly malibathi la hlala khona lo for the ID.
I first went to Kelly's parental home, which is Foslorus.
Yes.
Then after that, I went to the police station. From the police station, I then went to Kelly's house
for the ID.
So the statement is in between the two trips. Okay, that's fine. And now this statement was taken by this officer Pakule. In what language was this statement taken?
Wakusetshenziswa luphi ulimi la kule statement?
English.
English.
And did you
which is what is written here, English.
Now, besides what is written, you and the person taking the statement, were you talking purely English or English mixed with another language?
Nani mix noma kwa English yodwa?
Angeke ngisakhumbula, but obviously mhlawumbe ngakmix English nesiZulu.
I won't remember.
Fluent in Lesotho.
I won't remember. Maybe I was mixing English and Zulu.
Okay, that's fine. And how was this statement taken? Were you narrating the events of the 26th of October 2014 to the officer taking it, and then after that he was writing it down?
Yebo ngikhuluma bhale ayibeke futhi naye ngendlela ayibeka ngayo.
And he would also put it in the manner in which he's putting it.
And then after having taken all of the information from you and the police officer, writing it down in a statement, before you appended your signature on the document, was this document read back to you?
Eseqedileke ubhala ngaphambilini kokuthi nje acela ukuthi usayinde ingaba wakufundela yini lokho akubhale phansi?
Kwi-statement engangibhala khona engafundela zona khona engafundelwanga zona. So la ngiyacabanga mhlawumbe ukuthi ngafundela kunayisho ngoba kwi-statement sokuqala if not mistaken.
That was the
from the
first,
statement the statements that I deposed of
kodwa ngoba kwi-statement sokuqala mhlawumbe ngifundela.
Okay, I thought you were still talking. Now, let's go through. Oh, sorry, before I go there. Now, having been satisfied with the contents of this document, did you append your signature on the document?
Uma sewenemeke ngalokhu akushoyo noma ukufundelweke ingabe wase uyasayinda ke? Ngithi usibhalile uyakufundela onelisekileke ukuthi lokho akubhalile iloko endikushilo wase uyasayina.
And then at the bottom of each page, you will see there's what appears to be a signature, and towards the bottom left of the last of the last page, is that your signature?
Yes.
Yebo imina ko sayindile lapha ezansi page ngayodwa.
My Lord, with leave of the court, I'm not sure because my learned colleagues on the left are whispering that they are also going to use the very same statements. So for brevity purposes, perhaps I read it as is into the record. Then when they do their cross-examinations, it's not necessary to refer back to, but they can only direct to the parts. But I'll seek direction from the court.
No, I can interfere and tell counsel how to conduct their cases.
Okay, that's
you heard when I tried to describe the brim.
Yes.
I was told I'm giving evidence.
Okay.
All right.
All right, no, that's fair.
Sure.
So from that premises, I'll have to read it all, although I think some of the writing is not legible and notes were made on the statement. And it reads, Phosphorus cast 63610 of 2014. It's titled A26 and it says and reads. Yeah, because we're going to ask it to be admitted as some example. And it reads, I'm Thokozisi Twala, states under oath, I'm an adult male with ID number. I'm not going to read it into record, and I'm not going to read your address into record and your cell number because I'm not sure whether it's current or not. And paragraph 2 thereof, it says, Sunday the 2014, 10/26, I was with Senzo Maiwa, Kelly Kumalo, and Zandile Kumalo. We left from Senzo's place in Malbatten to Soweto, where Kelly was going to perform. We were driving in Senzo's BMW X6. Paragraph 3, we came back from Soweto at about 16:30 and went to Katlehong at my place where I needed to change my clothes. After changing my clothes, we went to Spread View where Senzo said he wanted to collect his friend from KwaZulu-Natal, Tumelo. After collecting Tumelo, Senzo wanted to show us his child, and we went to Kelly's mom's place at Phosphorus. We found Kelly Kumalo's mom with the two kids, Chingo and Christian. What is this, Mr.
Before.
Sorry, what are you attacking in the statement?
Man, not only two aspects.
Yeah, pinpoint the aspects because.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Unless you're saying the whole statement is contradictory.
No, not the whole statement, Malot.
Yeah. Let
me go to the aspects, then they will deal with the evidence. Now, the first point that I want to raise with you, you remember that, and it's at paragraph 3 thereof, which I will read. In fact, I've already read that we came back from Soweto at about 16:30 and went to Katlehong at my place where I needed to change my clothes. After changing my clothes, we went to Straight View where Senzo said he wanted to collect his friend from KwaZulu-Natal, Tumelo. You see that?
Yes.
Now, in your testimonial evidence, viva voce, in court, you testified that the reason that you went to Katlehong was so that Senzo Meiwa can drop you off, correct?
Yes.
But in paragraph 3, as I've just read it now, that is not what the stated purpose is.
Paragraph 3
I think musukhuluma into njengoba ngikhuluma obviously ngifana ngithathe from detail to detail mangibhala la obviously ngabhala lokho engangikushilo makuthi usho kanjalo obegcineni ukushintsha ngashintsha ukuye spread view sayi spread view ukuyolanda utumelo sakho ukulanda utumelo so ayikho into ebhaliwe la out of context yokuthi zonke lezi zinto engiyishilo la engifitexify ngazo zamanga noma zikanjani ngoba into eyodwa le ibhalwe la nento engiyisho.
When I speak here or when I give my evidence, then I go into detail about what had happened. But from which is written here, there is nothing that is out of context about what had happened. Indeed, I ended up changing my clothes. Indeed, we ended up going to Spread View. Indeed, we picked Tumelo up.
Now let's go to paragraph 7 thereof, and I'm reading. We were busy chatting when suddenly two black males walked in. I'm not sure if the door was closed or not. Kelly was standing on the passage between sitting room and the kitchen at that time. The first one had a firearm in his hand, and he said, and I quote, "Futsek, cell phones and money." Those quotes. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Earlier on, I asked you, other than cell phones and money, did that person use a swear word? And you said no.
Ngikubuzile ke ngaphambilini ukuthi lo muntu lona noma loyo muntu loyo ke wayisebenzisa yini inhlamba wakusithi wona ke cha.
Yet again, ngiyasho ukuthi lento ebhaliwe la into eyenzeka la when it comes to Futsek ngiyacabanga ukuthi ngakuchaza lokho ukuthi igama elithi Futsek angisalukhumbuli libhaliwe, I mean elisho, but cell phone no man into ayisho.
But I remember saying that previously that I don't remember or recall the word what that is written there, which you just mentioned, but I recall cell phones and money being said by the person.
If you say you don't recall, it may have happened, but now you don't recall it.
Kungenzeka ukuthi wakusho ukuthi nje ukukhumbule wena.
Ngasho kanjalo.
You can say so.
Let's then move on to paragraph 8 thereof, and then it reads as follows. I was seated next to Senzo, and we all froze as it came as a shock. Zandi's boyfriend jumped onto the suspect and grabbed the firearm. You see that?
Yebo.
Yes.
This is not what you testified about in Viva Voce here in court.
Asibona ke okushilo lokho kubufakazi bakho la enkantolo.
Yet again futhi lo wayibhalile wabhala indlela abhala ngayo, and lento futhi before kuze kuzwe nasenkantolo ya lo mistake ka grab wa rectify wafaka upush. So lo wayibhalile wafaka ugrab, mina ngangithe push, and lo push kwabuya kwaziwa kumina kwathatha statement isa lo grab no push kwa rectify kungakaqali kwale nkantolo.
Yes, once again it's the person that wrote down, but even way before or before the matter was before court, there was a subsequent statement that was taken in rectifying the grab, and pushed was then inserted in the other statement.
So you see where my dilemma is. This is your contemporaneous statement that you made when the incident was still fresh in your mind, correct?
The statement leso wasenza konke lokhu kusekusha noma kuse fresh emqondweni wakho angithi.
Ngakusho lokho.
Yes, I would say that.
Now let's go to paragraph 9 thereof, and I continue to read, and it says, then Senzo jumped in as well, and they started assaulting the suspects, screaming at the same time. At that moment, I grabbed Christian Kelly's child from the kitchen to the sitting room area so that he doesn't get hurt. You see that?
Yes.
Did Senzo also join in the assault by Longwetwala that you are referring to in your statement?
Ngalendlela ekubhalwe ngayo la ku-statement uSenzo wase naye ke ejoyina ke ukushaywa ke kwalomsola lokhu ukushaywa uLongwe ngalendlela ekubhalwe ngayo.
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi la kukho la kuthiwa uSenzo wangena wa assault with uLongwetwala, ngikubona la kubhalwe lokho.
I don't see it being written here what you are saying. Well, Senzo and Longwe, where does Longwe fit with regards to the assault? Because I don't see it in the statement.
So I'm reading on from the previous paragraph that I read from. You first said Longwe jumped and grabbed the firearm.
Ngicala ke konke lokho ngiqala lana la ukhona ke uLongwe wase egrabha noma ebamba ke isibhamu uthi uyaqhubeka lapho.
Then it flows on to paragraph 9 that I just read, which is your statement that you've appended your signature to. You say, and I'm reading it again for understanding purposes. Then Senzo jumped in as well, and they started assaulting the suspect.
Ithi lana ke wasengenelela naye ke uSenzo base beqala ke ukushaya umsolwa
and screaming at the same time.
Bememeza futhi ke.
Okay, ngiyacabanga ukuthi mhlawumbe igama akalisebenzisile la assaulting elwrong ngoba mina nje bengisho ukuthi kwaba khona iscaffold. uSenzo ukusukuma kwakhe wasukuma kwiscaffold after uLongwetwala esegxume waya kumuntu wamphusha waphuma. uSenzo wasiba nescaffold nalowo muntu. So ngicabanga mhlawumbe igama lisebenzisela la assaulting ngoba nani nake nalisebenzisa la laphikiswa.
I think here the word assaulting is the incorrect word which he used, because as I said that it was a scuffle after Longwe had gone out of court, and the witness referring to the counsels used it before, and there was it was disputed.
Let me show you, Mr. Twala, and I'll read the next paragraph to show you. This is not talking in the context of the main scuffle. It's talking about Longwe grabbing the firearm from the first suspect and doing whatever. Then you say, Senzo then joins in. But let me read this to show you that it's not within the context that you want us to say. Let me read the 10th paragraph. It reads as follows. Then Zandi's boyfriend let go of the firearm from which was still in the suspect's hands and ran from the house. So you see the context that this statement is made. It's not within the bigger picture of the second scuffle once Longwe had left the house.
Lana ke uthi le statement asikhulumi ngalesi scuffle lesi wena okhulume ngaso lesi emuva kokuthi uLongwe esephumileke ifuthi kangaleni yaseke iboyfriend kaZandi idedela ke isibhamu esasise sesandleni sakhe umsolwa wase ebaleka ephuma ke endlini.
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi njengoba ngisho futhi namanje ukuthi indlela ekubhalwe ngayo la akuyona shuthi indlela mina engangimbekele ngayo lo muntu.
I think as I've said that the man
methi wadedela isibhamu akaza dedela isibhamu ngoba ngakuchaza lokho ukuthi akazange azasibamba isibhamu wampusha.
It's not written in the manner in which I said it. So when he said that, when he says here, he let go of the firearm because he never even grabbed or held the firearm. He just pushed him.
Nakalesikhathi njengoba echaza ukuthi kwaba khona igunshot yaba khona ekitchen njengoba ngichaza ukuthi usenzo ngambuka ngaphambana naye eminyango, so yena akubhalile la ukuthi kwenzeke ekitchen lokho.
Even with when the shot went off, it happened in the kitchen, and I looked at Senzo, or I saw Senzo when our paths crossed, and it's not mentioned here.
Now, let's not belabor that because I know exactly what this statement says. And in fact, let me put it this way. During your evidence in chief, in cross-examination, and I'm going to give you props and brownies, you are a very brilliant person. You correct an editor, 10-chapter book over 2 days, correct?
Angisho ke lokho ukuthi umuntu ohlakaniphe kakhulu ke ngoba ubusushiyo ngaphambilini la walungisa khona ke umbhali wencwadi ke enama chapter awu10 wena ke wakwenza lokho ngeinsuku ezimbili.
Yebo ngakwenza lokho.
Yes,
in 2 days and futhi ngake ngize ngamcorrect ngoba ekhuluma ngami. So into ekhuluma ngami obviously ngizoyicorrect ngoba noma yena kuthi uyayibhala akayazi yena ukuthi angabhala into ekhuluma ngami mase mina ngiyayidedela ngibe ngazi kahle ukuthi ayikho kanjalo.
Because what I corrected,
so that's why I'm correct. Hayi ngoba ngibrilliant
with me because he was writing about me. That's why I corrected him, not because I am a brilliant person. I'm brilliant.
You are very brilliant. Take credit. I'm giving you one. At the ID parade in Pietermaritzburg, when you saw that somebody with similar features was taking photographs, his photographs was taken, and you didn't want to falsely implicate somebody in the commission of this offense, you took it up and corrected then and then with the IO to say, listen, I didn't say that's him. He's got similar features, but I'm not saying it's him. You did that, correct?
Yeah, but both you and the witness, I'm making my life difficult. You are making very long statements.
Sorry, Mr. Jonas.
Both of you. Pietermaritzburg, walungisa noma waba kusimo sokuthi ubalungise. Awuzange uchithe isikhathi uma ubona bethatha izithombe zomuntu wena oshilo ukuthi akusiyena kodwa unama features asimilar wabalungisa ngaleso sikhathi awuzange ubayeke uhamba ubuye ngelinye ilanga.
Yebo kuyiqiniso lokho.
That's true.
And even the incident with Miss Joyce Buthelezi, as you testified about yesterday, when she wanted you to make a particular statement or put words in your mouth, you stood your ground and said, I'm not writing this because it's not me. The point that I'm raising is this. You append your signature here. Within the context of those three examples I make, you wouldn't agree to sign this statement if you haven't gone through it and if it's got these allegations that you now seek to distance yourself from.
Nakubuthelezi wakwenza ke lokho. Ubuthelezi ufuna ukhulume into ongazi lutho ngayo noma engakuhlanganisike wema ke wathi cha ngeke ngikwenze lokho. Kodwa lana ke wase ufaka ke i-signature yakho wasayinda ke lana kodwa ke ubona ukuthi kukhona ke lokho ongahambisani nako noma ongakushilo wena kodwa wathi uyasayina.
Engizokusho la ukuthi mina prior before ukushona kwaSenzo ngikaze ngibhale i-statement angikaze ngibe kulekusime ngikusona manje nje bengikhuluma nawe. So when it comes to lokuqondisa kwegwego lezi zinto ezazenzeka, it's because of the case of izinto engiyibonile zenzakalile prior to the case njengoba sila enkantolo manje. So that's why ngihlezi ngi-alert manje.
Before Senzo's death, I had never been or I've never deposed of statements. I've never been in the situation that I am in right now. Now the corrections that then happened, it is because of things that happened before this case, and that is why I am now alert at this stage.
Then finally, on that very same 826, I'm going to read from paragraph 12. You say, and I quote, "When I ran out of the house, I noticed that the suspect with a firearm was still inside the house, and he was standing in the kitchen. After jumping to the other side, I heard screams, and together with the neighbors, we jumped into the hall back to the Kumalo household." I'll end it there. Do you see that?
Yeah,
yes.
That's not what Kyle Nash has testified about. He did not jump, or his father, for that matter, did not jump into the yard with you. But in your statement, you say you and the neighbors jumped back into the Kumalo household.
Yeah, bokusho ukhaya lokho nami lokho engikushoyo nami.
That's what Kaya says. It's also that is also saying what I'm saying.
Now let me go to 113, please, and I'm going to address only two paragraphs from that statement. And this statement, before that, the 826, we believe that it be admitted as an exhibit according to Mr. Balo U1.
Okay. U1, my lord.
Now, the second one that I'm going to refer you to is A113. It was taken by, my lord, that's the name that you like, Richard Abednego Shibiri, not Shiburi.
Shibiri.
It's Shibiri, my lord.
Okay.
And it was taken
sorry, just before you proceed, this statement U1, who wrote it? This one.
Did
he write it himself, the witness here, or was it written by the officiating policeman?
My understanding from his testimony, he'll correct me. He says he was narrating the story.
That's not a question.
Yes.
Who wrote this statement? I talk. Yes. The policeman is here.
Yes.
I can assure you, the day I'm arrested, I will write the statement myself. That's what I want to clarify.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Okay. I'll also do the same, man.
Yes.
Now the second one.
So just clear that up. Who wrote the statement? Because we talked loosely, not legalistically. I made a statement.
Yes.
When I narrated a statement, and it was written down by the Commissioner of Oaths.
Yes. But I placed that question to him.
Okay, fine.
Yes, I did place that question to him. Now the second one, it's A113. Do you recall making this statement, Mr. Tola? It was made on the
14th of December.
Sorry?
Okay, can I first just peruse it?
Yes, check the date for us, please.
No, it says before that he wants to see what it's referring to.
All right.
Clarify that. That's fine. No, you can ask me. It will take forever.
It says it will take forever. You can ask him.
Okay. Now, this statement as well, how was it made?
As far as I know, now it takes up on 14th December 2017 at Durban.
Yes.
Senziwa kanjani ke sona?
Lesi statement if ngikhumbula kahle ngibona lesibongo sithi Shapiri if kuyena lo babe ngimcabangayo omude the statement wangenzise beach.
Okay, if it is the gentleman, because I see here it says Shapiri, and if it is the person that I'm thinking of, it was taken at the beach.
So, on official duty, you are having cocktails and margaritas and making statements. And how was it made? Was it, did you narrate the story to him and then he wrote the statement down, or did you personally reduce the statement to writing?
Kwakwenzeka kanjani ke wawukhuluma abhale phansi noma wakunikeza ukuthi wena uyibhalele wena?
Firstly, I wish I was drinking cocktails at the beach. He fetched me M17. If it's 2017, he fetched me M17. Ngangisebenza eMasgrave.
He fetched me.
Proceeded to a beach. Just to clarify the first part that you said.
So you fetched me from work. Sorry. We then went to the beach. I was working at Masgrave.
And
we then went to a beach. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Okwesibili kuzo zonke istatement ukuze lo mbuzo uzoba right uzo clarify kuzo zonke istatement esengangazisho angikaze ngibhalele statement ngihlezi ngibhalelwa yibona abantu laba basuke abeze kumina angikaze ngibhala ngikaze nginika iphepha nepen to wabhala statement sakho.
So that this question gets clarified once and for all, I've never written down my own statement. All these people that would come to me for the purposes of a statement, of taking a statement, would be writing the statement.
So ibona basuke bebhala abanye babezofika ne-statement zabanye abantu bangitshela ukuthi ba-clarify into esuke ishiwo omunye umuntu kumina.
Others would approach me with other people's statements and then ask me to clarify what the other person would have said in their statement.
So yeah, all in all ngiyakhuluma umuntu abhale into asuke ayibhalayo.
So all in all, I would speak or I'd be talking, the person would then write whatever it is he or she would be writing.
Now, with your vivid memory of the person that took the statement, Officer Shibiri, was this statement read back to you after Shibiri noted it down?
Ngimuvake ukuthi uShibiri ebhalile phansi ke lokho wena ke omtshele kona ke ingaba wase yakufundela ke othi manje ke sengiqedile ubhala statement ngizokufundela ke ukuze wena usho ukuthi cha le iyona le cha akusiyona ngabe wakufundela yini?
Angikhumbuli ngifundela nje bese ngishilo personally because nje bengisho ukuthi Mr Shibiri mekuthi uyena lo baba omude ngizoshutha ngikhumbuli ngibambe lapho nje when it comes to yena okwamanje.
I don't remember, as I'm saying that if it is indeed the person that I think Shibiri is the tall person, let me just hold it there for now.
And having the statement been reduced to writing, you are satisfied with the contents because did you sign this statement?
What signed the statement?
Yes.
I think this is my signature, yes.
In all the pages at the bottom and on the signing page with the police.
On my page la enzansi. Naleli semuva futhi ke lokugcina.
Yes.
Yes.
And also I see that where
not on the last page.
Yes.
The signature my paper lokugcina kodwa it's fine.
I see that. And then also I see that in some paragraphs errors were made and cancelled out, and each time there's a signature and then initials MT next to the corrections that were made. Did you make the initial MT or the signature on top is yours? Which one is yours there?
La kwenziwe khona ke iphutha kuyasayindwa bese bakhe no MT phakathi kwe signature no MT iphe yakho. Ilabo uma kwenziwe lokho la kusho ukuthi kwenza kubhale noma kunephutha elenziwe kune signature kuno MT yiphe yakho kulezi ezimbili.
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi ngaba uMT ngoba Mthokozi Sithwala kodwa isignature kuyona yami.
I think it would be MT because that's Mthokozi Sithwala, but the signature is not mine.
Now I'm only gonna deal with maybe 3 paragraphs from that statement, and you confirm that this is the document that you made with Officer Shibiri.
Uyavuma ukuthi wasenza no Shibiri lesi.
Ngiyakhumbula isikole statement engasenza naye yebo.
I remember there is a statement I made with him, yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be YouTube, yes. Now, let me start with paragraph 6 thereof, and it reads, in fact, I think to make justice to that paragraph, it starts from paragraph 5, because I see that's a continuation. So let me start from paragraph 5 thereof. It says, and I quote, "I can't describe the firearm the suspect was carrying as it happened fast and I was scared. The firearm was blackish in color. I could see the front portion of the firearm."
Angikho kusimeko sokuthi ngasichaza isibhamu uma siqala la ku5 umsolo awayesiphethe nanjengoba kwenzeka ke ngokusheshsha ngangisaba isibhamu sasi blackish noma simnyama ke ngombala.
And
sorry, I could see ngibona nje la ngaphambili kusona isibhamu noma ngisibona la ngaphambili.
And at paragraph 6 thereof, I quote, "The second suspect didn't say much. The suspect didn't say much. He just demanded the cell phones and money. The suspect was wearing a hoodie jacket and the hoodie was covering his head. I could see the dreadlocks protruding through the hoodie near his ears."
Umsolo ke akazange asho okuningi, wafuna nje kuphela ke ama cell phones kanye nemali. Umsolo wayegqoke ihoodie noma ijacket enehoodie noma ihoodie kanye futhi ke ihoodie leyo yayimboze ikhanda lakhe. Ngangibona ama dreadlocks ayivelileke kuyona ihoodie eduze kwendlebe zakhe.
Now, the point that I want to clear, which suspect are we talking about here? Because my understanding of your evidence was that the suspect with dreadlocks was wearing a hat and the second suspect was wearing a hoodie. So what are we talking about here?
Sikhuluma ngani ke manje lana ngoba uma ngikuzwile kahle ke mina kubufakazi wakho ukuthi lo owayinama dreads wayifake isigqoko, lona owesibili ke omude efake ihoodie.
Yebo kunjalo besiqala la ngasiqaleni ngoba uqale ku number 5. Suspect yebo iphethe isibhamu. Isibhamu ke nje bese ngishilo ukuthi angisakwazi ukuthi ngisichaze manje ukuthi sinjani, and la ngangibona nje bengishilo ukuthi ngibone ngabona okokuqala la ngaphambili.
Okay. Indeed, the suspect was carrying a firearm, and indeed, as I said, that I won't be able to describe the firearm, and indeed, I saw the front portion of the firearm.
And then when it comes to suspect ke demand amamali ne cell phone, ngiyacabanga ukuthi lokho vele ngakushilo. Iphutha ke liba la khona uShibiri esebhala khona indaba yehoodie. Ihoodie yayigqoka lo wesibili nje bese ngishilo nala. And then lo qala wayigqoka isigqoko isona lesengangibona kusona ama dreads la kuyena. So ngiyacabanga ukuthi iphutha lakhe ke lapho lapho ukuthi asho aphambanisa isigqoko ne hoodie.
As I've already said that the suspect demanded cell phones and money, but now the mistake starts here now where he mentions the hoodie, because I've already said that the one with the dreadlocks was wearing a hat, and that's where I could see the head, the dreadlocks. So he's now twisting here or confusing the hoodie as well as the hat.
But you see, in fact, let me leave that one so that I'm fair to you. Let's go to paragraph 8 thereof, and I read, "I can't remember the color of the hoodie jacket the suspect was wearing. I can remember that the second suspect was wearing a hat but I don't know the color of the heads. I don't see the second suspect. I didn't see the second suspect properly, and I cannot describe him or identify him.
Angikhumbuli-ke umbala we-hoodie jacket umsola owayegqokile. Ngiyakhumbula-ke ukuthi owesibili umsola wayegqoke isigqoko, kodwa-ke angikwazi umbala wesigqoko. Angikhumbuli, angizange ngimbone-ke umsola wesibili kahle, futhi-ke angeke ngikwazi ukuthi ngimchazeke noma ngimkhombe umsola wesibili.
Going back to lentade ngisho ukuthi I think kube khona misunderstanding between yami no Shabir, for which futhi ngoba uShabir angithuki. So engikushoyo ukuthi la nje bese ngichazelile mina ukuthi kukanjani yena uphambanise ihoodie nesigqoko kuphela.
As I've already said, that there was a misunderstanding between myself and Shabiri, and because it's Shabiri, I am that doesn't what's the word now? That doesn't amaze me because it is Shabiri. So, but here he confused the hoodie as well as the head.
But you see that, to see that you agree with that description that you give here, you even signed here. Oh no, let me leave it. Let me not be unfair to you. I'll leave it at that because I see the correction was only for the scratch part, so I don't want to be taking that it's for the whole paragraph. Then let me just see if there's anything that I'm missing from the last paragraph. Then I should be done with my. Now this one is cross-examination. But before I conclude, I see it's only 5 minutes. Can I take instructions? Then I'll wrap up.
Okay. Is it one?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. That's it. I don't have any further questions for the witness.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Mnisi. You have 1 or 2. If you go to the third one, I will disallow it. Okay, let's continue.